Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler. It is August 30th, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now, for this segment, I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of reports out of Bloomberg. I'm going to link these reports. I encourage you to follow links and read them for more information. I'm just going to look at some highlights in the context of the larger trend for California's energy and climate change producing carbon emissions reduction pathway, and talk about why California has been successful and what's necessary for California and for the world in general to be successful in transitioning to clean energy and curtailing fossil fuel burning in the future, which is the primary driver of human-caused climate change. But first, the news about California. So according to this Bloomberg New Energy Finance report, California has managed to cut its emissions to 1990 levels already. And that is ahead of schedule because California had planned to try and cut emissions to 1990 levels by 2020. And it's worth noting that California has done this by working to transition to lower carbon fuels and zero carbon fuels, primarily transitioning more and more to reliance on wind and solar, removing reliance on coal, and this has resulted in a 35% drop in emissions from California's electricity sector. Now, it's also worth noting that transportation emissions have also dropped as California has moved to electrify its vehicles, and emissions from other segments have not grown. So overall, California is seeing a reduction in carbon emissions. Now, I just want to call your attention to this graph from the California Air Resources Board and noted here in this Bloomberg New Energy Finance report. And I'd just like to highlight that the largest segment right now for California's carbon emissions is transportation, and the second largest is industry, and third largest is electrical power. Note that electrical power carbon emissions have shrunk considerably in this graph. And I'd just like to talk about what is needed going forward. So to transition to 100% clean energy production in the power sector, California is going to need battery storage as it's looking at moving to a 100% clean power grid by 2040. But in addition, these same batteries that are going to be helping California to transition to 100% clean power are also going to be needed to transition to greatly reduced and ultimately zero carbon emissions for California in the transportation sector. So we often talk about the synergy between electrical vehicles and the clean energy transition, and it's kind of a linchpin synergy that Tesla itself is working very hard to pursue, and it's companies like Tesla that recognize this linchpin technology, which are going to enable us to curtail fossil fuel emissions. And so it's one of the reasons why industries like Tesla are so important, and it's so important that we as clean energy advocates and as climate change response advocates work to promote a Tesla-style business model for companies, in that all clean energy corporations will be critical for helping to provide climate change solutions and energy transitions in the future, in the near future. So So just two key points about, one, why California is being successful presently in reducing carbon emissions, and where the pathway forward lies for California. And that involves mating wind and solar with batteries and electrical vehicles to enable a 100% clean power system and a transportation system that is zero carbon or near zero carbon. And that provides a snapshot of not only what a path forward to responding to climate change for California looks like, but also for the world. And it's worth noting that California has been a leader when it comes to energy and climate change responses, and it's identifying a path forward for both the United States and the world. So we need to pay attention to trends in California because it gives us an idea of where the center of gravity lies in responding to climate change, deploying clean energy, and providing effective avenues for doing that. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be chatting with you soon.